Who is the most famous person you have ever spoken to? Gordon Ramsay. Told me to fuck off after I said I prefer Jamie Oliver. LOL. That's hilarious. Sylvester Stallone was eating cereal in a hotel I was living at while my house was flooded. I asked for his autograph and he said yes. What I really wanted was for him to punch me in the face. How cool would that story be? It would be even better if he knifed you instead. Johnny Depp. I hailed a black cab which had someone in it, didn't have my glasses on so didn't notice the lack of light, and it pulled over. Johnny Depp opened my door and asked where I'm heading. Turns out we were going to a similar area so he told me to hop in and we just chatted for 15 minutes and he wouldn't let me contribute to the fare. Really nice guy. LOL, what a bizarre turn of events. Jennifer Aniston. I asked how you doing? She said hello there Mr. Handsome. I was 12 at that time and dressed in a bow tie and a suit so. That's so Jen. I got in an argument with Sting in 1979. I was a wee punk rocker and I had no money to get into shows. So I would hang around at the side of Paradiso Amsterdam until the band showed up and then ask if they would let me in for free if I'd help them haul their gear in. Same thing with the police. With the exception that Sting told me to fuck off once I had helped get their stuff inside. What a cunt. Bro. He could have at least told you to fuck off before you did work. Charlie Sheen. And despite how I thought it would go, he was exceptionally humble. There's an interview with him where he explains how a lot of celebs nowadays are dicks because they aren't humble to the fans. How fans are the people who make celebs and that's why he always tries to make time for them. Sir Ian McKellen. Fantastic guy. Worked with him at Manchester Pride. He was very naughty with all the young buff men. I almost threw him out of a theater. He was in Waiting for Godot as Lucky. I saw him trying to enter stage door and attempted to stop him. Lucky he found it funny I guess. There was the time that I bothered Danny Glover. I was seated at the Baton Rouge airport. When I noticed that the man himself was sitting not 3 feet to my left. First, I asked him if there was a power outlet on his side of the bench. Then I told him that his food smelled good. Finally, I mentioned that his flight, which was leaving from a different gate, had called for boarding. He thanked me. Made a joke about not wanting to miss his flight. Thanked me again. And hurriedly packed his things. Thus ends the story of the time that I bothered Danny Glover. He was too old for your shit. I met Clint Eastwood. I asked for his autograph. He told me to fuck off. Deleted. Matt Groening. Creator of The Simpsons. That guy is famous. But I will never recognize him if I saw him. Mum used to date Lemmy from Motorhead. Chilled backstage many times. Lemmy chucked a glass of water over my stepmom many years ago when she set on fire. I don't know how she came to be a flame. All I know is she was lucky he was drinking water. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Jon Stewart. And Jenna Jameson called me an asshole on Twitter. The Rock and Stewart were cool to meet in person. That's future President Rock Johnson to you. Jamie Foxx once asked me how tall I am. How tall are you? Emma Watson. I extras in Perks of Being a Wallflower and I made myself talk to her. Nervous as heck though. I love that film. My friends and I were chatting up a chick and found out that she was an actor from Home and Away, which is an Australian soap opera similar to Neighbours. Ended up smoking a joint with her in the car park of a pub. It was her first time smoking up and she got so ripped. Had a conversation with Terry Crews about manhood and how to treat a woman in a marriage and how testosterone can affect a marriage. That sounds like something you should hold on to. I'd take marriage advice from Terry Crews any day. Either Kurt Cobain, Prof. Stephen Hawking or Prince Charles. Sounds like the start of a joke. My brother took a picture without Mare. She is now in prison. Taylor Swift. She told me I was pretty and didn't say anything to my ex-best friend. So I became an instant fan. When I was about 5 years old I met Princess Diana. Amazing. How? I did security for Ozzy Osbourne once. Guy was so barbecued I'm not sure it really qualifies as conversation, but he was a cool guy. Very polite. Also did security for Arnold and Tiger, but the security details were much larger and I didn't get to talk to them. Tiger was apparently a fucking rude cunt. I've never heard barbecued used like that before. but I really like it. Met Justin Roiland at a bar once. He was plastered and talking in his Rick voice the whole time. T was a good night. That sounds magical. I saw Ric Flair sitting at a Starbucks in Seattle back in 2003. I saw him and went up to him, shook his hand and thanked him for the entertainment he provided and that my dad and I used to watch him every Saturday. Please tell me he went woo and did his little dance when he heard your words of praise. David Attenborough. I've met him twice at book signing sessions. On the second occasion I asked him about rumors that he was due to retire soon. He asked me where I'd heard that from. I said rumors on various news websites. He responded by saying I'm in my late 80s. Even I know not to believe everything you read on the internet. My boy. Told. And I couldn't have been happier. Toby Mac. He complimented my Mario Kart shirt and shook my hand when I was a kid. Not really a conversation. But still. I'm not a huge fan of him these days. But I still think he was pretty nice. I bumped into Charlie Sheen in a hotel once. We both simultaneously said sorry and he kept walking. It was interesting. You might want to get tested. Answering for my wife, she's had lunch with David Bowie and shared a smoke with Whoopi Goldberg. Mine is Ken Dodd. I gate crashed a charity gig of his for a dare as a student. No one outside the UK will know him. Manager Nobly. Kanye West. He's actually a nice guy. Nice try, Kanye. Deleted. I met and shook Barack Obama's hand before he was president. And I did coke with Kirsten Dunst many years ago. Also met Dikembe Mutombo and chatted with him once. Met Henry Rollins also. He was awesome. Can we talk about doing coke with Kirsten Dunst? I got to meet Joe Biden back in 2009. He gave a speech at my dad's medical center, which was getting a bunch of money from a stimulus package. He was a really chill, nice guy. And he even invited us to go visit the White House, which we did later that year. Unfortunately he and Obama were out of the country at the time. But we still got a pretty cool tour. I met Dick Clark, host of American Bandstand, New Year's Rocking Eve and a bunch of other stuff. But I didn't get to talk to him that much. Spoken to as in had a conversation with would-be Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary. The guy who wrote Puff the Magic Dragon. Fascinating man. He was friends with Mandela. Hung out with the Dalai Lama. And knew Martin Luther King Jr. At the end of our conversation he said, "Hey man. I feel like we're brothers of the spirit." So I got that going for me. I didn't speak to him but I swear to God I came across Snoop Dogg on Omegle about a week ago at like 4 AM. My cam was off so he ended the chat before I had a chance to say anything. Before you had the chance to tilt the camera back up to your face and zip your trousers up. You mean. Either John DiMaggio, Bender Voice, or Ryan Nyquist, pro BMX athlete. Did John DiMaggio tell you to bite his shiny metal ass? Mark Wahlberg and played some basketball with him too. Deleted. Deleted. Marcus Notch person. I spoke to Michael Bolton today. He was filming across the road from where I was drinking. Come for a beer, Bolton. It's hot out. Can't. I'm working. Pretty cool, I guess. I gave an Uber ride to the guy that popularized quinoa in the US. I think his name was Don. Now if this ain't the most baffling shit I've read all day. Obama. George W. Bush. Muhammad Ali. No real cool stories for any of them. Obama calls a high school acquaintance's dad worked for him. Bush at a Boy Scout thing. Muhammad Ali randomly at an airport when I was a kiddo. Edit. I also know somebody that had a threesome with Georgia. Martin. So that's probably cooler than the celebrities I've met. You can't just throw that last statement into the room without going into it any further. Liam Neeson's mom. Yep. I ain't met no one famous equals. How did you meet Liam Neeson's mom? Aaron Paul, who plays Jesse in Breaking Bad. Met him at Citi Field in New York at a concert. Walked up to him before the start and he was a pretty nice guy. He even called me a bitch when I asked him to 10/10 would recommend. Gatorade me bitch. Finn Balor. Neville and Emma. Met Biggie while I was at Inla Fitness in Indianapolis. Brandon Flowers from The Colors. So is he more human or more dancer? I once physically ran into Martin Sheen. I was running around a corner and I bumped straight into him. And just shouted shit. Sorry. He just laughed and said that's alright son. I met a couple of the guys from Mumford & Sons also. I had a good long chat with their bassist. And he was a really nice, humble guy. My family and I noticed Flavor Flav at the next table over at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. He was super nice. Hung out for a bit. Talked to the kids. Got pics and autographs. Yes, he had the clock necklace. Answering the important question before it's asked. Eddie Vedder. I worked at a music store selling our used and vintage gear online. At first I get an email from an eBay user who had more questions but gave me his phone number. Yet there was no name attached. I called the person up and he said, I thought you may have recognized my name. I said, I'm sorry but there was no name on the email. He replied, oh I'm Eddie Vedder. While I was not a raging Pearl Jam fan it was definitely cool to talk to. Real nice guy too. Jack Johnson. Met him at a beach on the North Shore, Hawaii and got a picture with him. Just as chill as you'd think. That's where you should meet Jack Johnson. Not in any other environment. Awesome. Fabio Cannavaro. Italian World Cup winning captain. Spoken to multiple celebrities. Work in a theater so I pretty much meet all sorts of celebrities. My job is to make sure the artists are having a good time before and after the show. Also, some artists are fucking dicks lol. And also too, screaming 12-year-old girls are annoying cunts. The gambler himself. Kenny Rogers. About as nice as you could hope for in a singer-actor chicken restaurateur. Full on sprinted into John Barrowman's chest. Nearly hit him in the face with my cosplay prop. Then complimented him on his R2-D2 suitcase. All in the space of about 5 seconds. This was at Comic-Con. Man or woman? I hope you got a good feel of his chest. Ice Cube. I meet him after a gig he did in Melbourne, Australia at a local casino at 2 a.m. I was wearing a Boston Celtics jersey, number 9RR, and he told me that I was whack as he is a Lakers fan. Jack White came through the amusement park I was working at back in 2009. He was with the rest of the raconteurs and Meg was with them. Told them all I was a fan and they were pretty nice to me. Shook my hand. Jack White threw a baseball at that one game that measures the speed of your pitch. He really can't throw very well. I love Jack White. I have seen him perform 4 times. Always thought he would be mean and scary IRL. 2 that I feel are probably equally famous. Larry David. He was exactly like he is in Curb. Dude doesn't even act in that show. The other was Floyd Mayweather. Juck wouldn't let me take a pic with him. Not a fan. Damn, that's cool. I really hope to meet LD someday. You know Chuck Berry's song Johnny Be Good? I met Johnny. Well, technically Johnny Johnson. He was his pianist and was basically the guy who got Berry his big break and came up with the chord progressions that started rock and roll. His hometown holds a jazz blues rock and roll festival in his honor. I met him at this festival a few years before he died. Depends on which sport you like the most. Either Ken Griffey Jr., Lenny Wilkens, Warren Moon, or Mario Andretti. I'm assuming you're Cetalite. Those are all awesome, admittedly not a motorsports guy. So maybe not so much on Andretti. But still cool. Griffey was my sports idol growing up. That'd be my dream athlete to meet. My dad met Lenny Wilkens and actually got to play 2-on-2 against him with my dad's cousins when they were about 12 and Lenny was playing coaching. Played at a resort in Lake Chelan. He loves to tell that story. Steve Vai. Emma Watson. But that was just a dream. I bumped into Steve Carell's carriage by accident at a supermarket and got a picture with him. He does his own grocery shopping? Neat. Marty Grimes. I was 13 at the time and I had him sign his album. And he wasn't, and still isn't, the most popular rapper out there. So he was genuinely appreciative that I bought his album. And gave me the most heartfelt thank you I think I've ever heard from anyone. Unfortunately I think I sounded like a dick because I gave the album. Yep, no problem and just had him sign it. If you're out there. I'm sorry Marty. I'm just awkward. Not an ass. That's really sweet. I served John Hurt in a supermarket in England near his home and didn't notice the first time, was told by another customer. Happened several times after though. Deleted. Nicolas Cage. I was living in New Orleans at the time. And stopped into a little cafe I had been to a few times to get some coffee and a pastry before going to work, and he was sitting at the table. I said hello. As did most people coming in. But otherwise we pretty well left him alone. He was wearing flip-flops, jeans, a dirty white t-shirt, sunglasses, and hadn't shaved or brushed his hair. I recognize hungover when I see it. So I didn't bother him asking for an autograph or anything. Didn't actually talk to him as I assumed he didn't want to be bothered. But I once saw Carl from TWD in my local Chick-fil-A. President Bush and President Obama. Though Obama was still a senator and presidential candidate at the time. Miguel Indurain. My uncle was pretty high up in cycling in his youth. So he pulled some strings a few years ago when Indurain was here so my dad could meet him. I was disinterested in cycling and still am. But he was perfectly lovely to talk to. I met Eliza Dushku in Vancouver back when True Calling was being filmed. I've chatted with T-Pain and Deadmau5 on Twitch a couple of times. And my uncle is Andy Kessler. Pretty known skateboarder. I tried talking to T-Pain once but there was so much distortion on his voice it was hard to hear what he was saying. Bam Margera. He said I had a cute nose. Messi. I am from Rosario where he was born and I had the chance to have a small chat with him because a friend owned the hotel where he was staying. A not very notable actor from The Walking Dead. I got to meet Cyndi Lauper backstage about 6-7 years ago. What was she like? Bella B. He is a drummer-singer of a famous German band. HAA. Nice. I loved Iozd. Either Pauly Shore or Chris Katchen. I'm sorry. Roger Waters. Leslie Nielsen. Not Liam Neeson. https://www. Reddit. AskReddit comments /5LJ8DZ. Has anyone had a celebrity NSFW encounter? What's the BWC0SF? Billy West. Who you've probably heard voice act in about a million different things. Futurama. Ren and Stimpy. Looney Tunes. Etc. He's probably one of the nicest people I've ever met. I met him at a local Comic-Con. For some reason I was the only person in line to get an autograph, and he chatted with me for maybe 20 minutes. He's a very humble, down-to-earth, and well-spoken guy. And talking to him was such a massive pleasure. That would have been so awesome. I was at a basketball game. Drake walked by me, in a totally normal, familiar voice. Sup? Drake? Drake, kind of surprised. Hi. LPT, when you bump into a celebrity try to act totally normal and just say hi to them in a regular ass voice. If you shit your pants and come when you see them, they'll probably be less friendly. I have wound up chatting up a few celebrities for a long ass time this way. If by a few you mean one and if by celebrity you mean Ronnie Sikali. Dieter Baumann. Olympic champion 10K run. And Guido Buchwald. Football World Cup champion 1990. William H. Macy was basically at my wedding. I got married in downtown Atlanta. And he happened to be getting an Uber on the sidewalk by the venue. He was super nice and took a lot of pictures with our guests until the Uber arrived. Bono. How long did he lecture you about global warming before getting on his private jet and flying home? Ronnie James Dio. I was in an executive lounge at an airport and I was definitely the only one who recognized him. I was totally starstruck when I said hello. He invited me to sit with him and his crew and we had an awesome chat about stuff. Genuinely awesome guy. RIP. You golden god. M. Bill Clinton came to my parents' farm. Twice actually. I skipped the first one to watch The Simpsons. I was 6. Jeff Goldblum. He's everything you would imagine. I met Billy Corgan at an Indianapolis 500 years ago. At the same Indy 500. I had urinal talk with Steve Harrell, the lead singer of Smash Mouth. I met Cecil Fielder at a baseball game in which I was playing against his son Prince. I volunteered for a Chicago alderman who is now running for governor of Illinois. Queen Elizabeth II came to my school. We had a chat about my gap year plans. Mr. Fisher from Home and Away. Cool dude. Does not like being remembered for Home and Away. Chandler Riggs from The Walking Dead shook my hand and said what's up. I shook President Obama's hand back during his re-election campaign. It was for a shitty publicity thing and didn't last more than 10 seconds. But it was still pretty damn cool. Deleted. Same here. Plus Andrew and Zara Phillips, and Mike Tyndall. Who was her fiancé then? Dolph Ziggler. Last year in Detroit. I was outside the Marriott Hotel waiting for my cab and he was checking out the hotel. WWE had a PPV that night before, so I decided to talk to him. He was a cool guy. Bill Gates. Story please? Jimmy Butler. Before he got good. I met him one time at TJC. He came and played basketball in the gym. Broke my ankles. There's a 97% chance I talked to Jeffrey Rush without knowing it at work. Did an interview of Anthrax's Scott Ian. Sadly I don't even like their music. We had a horrible lack of chemistry, unrelated to me not being a fan, and it was awful. With most artists I've interviewed I've clicked on some level. Also talked to former president of Finland Tarja Halonen when she was still the president. Oh. And met Nobel Peace Prize winner Jose Ramos Horta. Not like anyone recognizes his name. But still a Nobel laureate. These occasions were unrelated to my job as a journalist. Used to be flagger at a motocross track back in the late 90s. Met a lot of the bigger stars of the day like Jeremy McGrath, Doug Henry, Kevin Windham, Mike LaRocco, Ezra Lusk, and Ricky Carmichael. Almost all of them were nice. Humble people except Jeremy McGrath. He was a total douche. Willie Nelson. It was a dream come true. Sam Neill, the dude from Jurassic Park. He came into a store I was working at and was a twat. I've stole computers to 3 of the 4 original Wiggles. Greg, the yellow one, was super cool. Also, they're all Mac users. Rebel Wilson. YA before Pitch Perfect. She's really soft-spoken and hilarious. Her mum was cool. too. For the Aussies here. I've also met Ndu, comedian. And he's like an adhat kid who's just had a knife bag of red cordial. And quite a few NRL players including Matt Johns, who was an absolute brainless wanker.